Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra. Extra! Because we are on a Wednesday. Oh my goodness me. It's the middle of the working week already. Where did that go? It went that way. Anyway, we are still rereading. I can't find the blessed book. We are still rereading Haunted Happenings in Devon. We're having a dip back into our favourites for the early part of January before we start a brand new book. What are we drinking tonight? We are drinking the chocolate stout from Aldi, 5% volume of alcohol, brewed in the UK in partnership with Hall and Woodhouse, the well-known pop duo. A rich, indulgent stout featuring luxurious chocolate flavours balanced by notes of roasted malt. Very nice stuff. Very, very nice. What are we washing it down with? We are washing it down with Boo Hoo Hoo, The Last of the Arbrackham. In fact, I get the funny feeling we're not even going to start a ghost story tonight, and we are going to have to run the VT. And we are going to have to run. Dead Soldier and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, Dead Soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Poops. But well, never mind. We have got a fresh bottle of the single grain Scotch from Lidl, and of course we've still got some of the caramel biscuit to polish off. So if you're wondering where Derpy is, he's in the next room. He's asleep on the ottoman by the radiator. He'll probably come in about 5-10 minutes to disrupt the show. So let us continue with media attention. But not all stories are about the past. Some people think there are no new ghosts, but when Pebble Mill TV studios opened in Birmingham in November 1971, remember that, Pebble Mill at 1 on the BBC, there had been a fatal accident when one of the brickies during the building, again, right, I see where I went wrong. But not all stories are about the past. Some people think there are no new ghost stories, but when Pebble Mill TV studios opened in Birmingham in November 1971, there had been a fatal accident with one of the brickies during the building. And in 1977, when rehearsing for a play, the producer, Michael Roll, and members of the cast heard very odd noises and then actually saw an image of the man. Whether or not ghosts are attracted to the media is not known, but certainly in Devon there is a remarkable correlation between radio and TV stations and spectral happenings. At the independent radio station called Plymouth Sound Radio, sited in the shell of an old chapel, is the ghost of a little old lady. Meanwhile, at Television Southwest, built on a Napoleonic Wars graveyard at Derrys Cross, Plymouth, all sorts of rumblings and strange occurrences take place. The ground floor of TSW studio is particularly prone, with the kitchen and VT editing rooms regular haunts for the presumed Napoleonic ghosts. It could be that the removal and reburial of skeletons when the studios were built has stirred them into action. Our very own Devon Air radio studios on St. David's Hill, Exeter, have strange goings-on that are not scheduled. Late-night presenter Gordon Somerville is totally convinced that the building is haunted. When he was working between midnight and 6 a.m. and he had to go upstairs to the record library, he would notice all sorts of noises and disturbances. With not a breath of moving air, a door would bang shut, but they were already closed. The noises got so bad that his assistants refused to go upstairs on their own. The studios are built on or close to an old plague pit where the victims of the plague were disposed of in a massed fashion. outside of the old city wall. The cigar-smoking Mr. W. Farrant Gilly was quite a showman and a much-loved citizen and dignitary of Torquay. He was responsible for designing and building the former Odeon Cinema in Newton Abbot, the ABC and Burlington in Torquay, and the Regent in Paignton, whilst being involved with several other places of entertainment. He had strong connections with the Torbay Cinema. Beside Paignton Station, he had strong connections with the Torbay Cinema beside Paignton Station, connections which seemed to linger long after his death, for frequently the air in the circle is impregnated by the aroma of his cigar smoke, a telltale sign of his presence. The smoke cannot be seen, but its smell frequently fills the air, even in an empty cinema. Let's have some beer and let's have the last of the Arbracken, shall we? Boo-hoo-hoo. Cheers, me beers. Ooh, that chocolate stout really is quite something from Aldi. Might invest in some more bottles of that, I think. Whoops, whoop, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go over the edge of the bottle. Sorry, slightly overfilled the glass there, and it was just about to crest at the top of the glass. So this is the last of the Arbracken for now. We'll hopefully get some when we finish the single grain. So cheers, me beers. Oh, lovely. Right. Still on the job, Frank of Paignton also writes of a modern-day ghost. Mean pride. Today's Tom Sawyer. Frank of Paignton also writes of a modern-day ghost. In 1972, he was manager of a large production store for a very well-known firm in the Midlands. The store was in a very old, large building, and it was July. The whole works was on holiday except for the gatekeeper himself and a man called Fred. They were stock taking some very expensive items. There were only 2 doors to the entrance of the store, a very large one and a smaller one. Both were always kept bolted top and bottom and locked. Frank stood checking Fred's figures, I bet he was, when he saw a man wearing a brown cow gown, Midlands for overall, come through the 2 big doors and walk up a gangway and out of sight. He knew it was impossible for anyone to have passed, and his hair stood on end. He knew it was impossible for anyone to open these doors from the outside. He ran down to where the man had passed, and his hair stood on end. The door was bolted. But as he stood in the gangway, a very cold, icy cold, started at the top of his head. I think the word sensation should be there, but anyway, a very cold, icy cold. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I get it now. But as he stood in the gangway, a very cold, icy cold started at the top of his head and slowly passed down his body. His first impression was of fear, and as he jumped out of the thing's wake, the coldness vanished. He called Fred and asked him to stand just where he had. Fred didn't know about the ghost, but the same icy feeling crept down his body. Frank then told him of what he had seen, to be greeted by a slow smile and a knowing nod from Fred. He was due for retirement soon and had worked for this firm nigh on all his working life. He then told Frank that very first storeman employed there had his desk at the top of the gangway, and one day the manager sacked him on the spot. This was many years ago. The poor chap went straight home and killed himself by putting his head in the gas oven. I don't know what to make of that. That's a bit grim. Oh, we are joined by, I think we're joined by viewer David. Is it viewer David? Let's have a look. It's viewer David. Hello, viewer David. And he says, good evening, reader John. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Let's have a bit more of the old chocolate stout, shall we? Change me bar. Oh, and the last of the Ardbracken. Boo. Right. But we are going to have some more of the caramel biscuit. This is currently being discounted in Lidl for about £3, but I would buy some more, but it's not Christmas. And quite frankly, I need to lose my Christmas pounds, so and not the ones in my wallet. So anyway, Lost and Found. Jean from Exmouth. Oh, Exmouth, lovely. Lost and Found. Jean from Exmouth believes herself to be exceptionally tuned in and perceptive to atmosphere. When her father died some years ago, she was obviously deeply upset as she loved him very much and knew he loved her. She will always miss him, but when she has problems, talks to him in her mind. A few years ago, when she was on holiday in Poole, she lost a ring of which she was particularly fond. It was unique, with a pattern of silver fern leaves joined together. She was very low in spirits at her loss, but a few nights later, she thought she heard her father calling from the sitting room. She followed the sound of his voice and found him sitting in a chair. He said, I don't like to see you upset about your ring, maid. He always called her that. So I've been to get it back for you. The next morning, she thought it had been a dream, but there on her hand was the ring. She still has it in her possession. Goodness me, how many more? Still got plenty of pages to go here, but we might need to get a new book at just after half time. So yeah, I think we will. But have I got one to hand? Just as a look. Yeah, of course I've got them to hand. Am I an amateur? Yes, I am. But cheers, me beers. Also, I am going to say tonight that we have expanded Sunday Night Ghost Stories out now, that we are now broadcasting to YouTube. So hopefully that means I get to keep the videos a bit longer, because Facebook keep deleting the bloody things. So perhaps they're a good judge of taste. Anyway, let's have some more of the biscuit caramel, or caramel biscuit, one or the other. Slange me var. Oh, that's lovely. Right. The Haunted City. The ancient and historic heart of Exeter has more than its fair share of haunted happenings, possibly because people have lived and died there for more than 2,000 years. It is not surprising that some of the many souls may be restless and prone to stalk their ancient stamping grounds. It could also be that the extensive urban redevelopment has disturbed their homes, sparking them off in spiritual saunterings on sites where new buildings lie on old sites, some perhaps on cemeteries. Marks and Spencer have an extremely well-appointed modern store on what was formerly a Roman burial ground. There have been several strange experiences for members of staff there. A lady called Shirley, who had turned her head from her clerical work for a split second, had her pencil thrown down onto her desk with great force. There was no sign of anybody around at the time. Another worker had occasion to run up a long flight of steps in the store and reach the top somewhat breathless. Her excessive panting was matched, pant for pant, by an invisible presence behind her. Whether the spirit was amicably mimicking her or simply just as out of condition as the shop assistant remains a mystery. The most haunted part of the Exeter branch of M&S is the basement, where the food hall is at present located. It transpires that quite a few ghosts are known to drift up and down the aisles. Jackie Pullen, the manageress of the Laura Ashley shop just opposite Marks and Spencer, had an eerie experience one evening after she was called out by the police because the burglar alarm had gone off. It was early evening, between 7 and 8 p.m, and when they found nothing, they weren't too surprised, as very often it's something as simple as a temperature change which sets the alarm off. After the police left, Jackie had to stay behind to wait for an engineer to reset the alarm. After about 45 minutes, she realised she could hear somebody walking around upstairs. It sounded like someone pacing about both on the carpeted floor and on the wooden parts at the top of the stairs. Thinking it must be an intruder, she wisely rang her boyfriend for help and quickly put the alarm back on. The system of light beams meant that if anything broke the circuit, it would show on the system. But nothing did. And when help arrived, despite a thorough search, no obvious explanation was found. Jackie says that she will never be left alone in the building now and always has someone with her when she locks up. If she has to go back to check anything, all the lights are put on and she gets through as quickly as possible. Sounds like one of my old girlfriends, that. Never mind. The girls in the shop don't like the stockroom, but personally, she is most uneasy in the office. On many occasions, she has felt the presence of someone behind her, and knowing how the staff often walk up without speaking, she has said, "What can I do for you? What can I do for you?" And on receiving no reply, has turned around to find she is talking to herself. Ba, ba, ba. Just having a look to see how many more pages have we got. No, we've got a few more. I think we might need to go and grab another book. I'm just having a look where the other books are, just behind the MacBook there. So yeah, we'll sort that out at half time. Cheers, me beers. Oh, lovely. Oh, delicious. Slash. I think we can top up the chocolate stout. And I do declare, for the second time this evening, we have a dead soldier. And Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Marvellous. Right, let's crack on, shall we? Water, tea, and stronger spirits. Ghosts do some pretty crazy things. Take, for instance, the one which haunts Exeter's underground passages, a system of medieval water conduits which brought water into the city under the East Gate. These former water courses are now dry, but past guides have been startled by an apparition which rode past them on a bicycle. Sir Francis Drake, it wasn't Sir Francis Drake, he didn't have a bicycle. He probably had a Raleigh chopper, but sorry, that was Sir Walter Raleigh had a Raleigh chopper. Oh, sorry. Sir Francis Drake was quite a character, a man known to quaff his ale in a manly manner. It seems Sir Francis was occasionally given to overindulgence on some occasions, and it is rumoured that the innkeeper at Exeter's Ship Inn in Martin's Lane had cause to ask him to leave for being in such high spirits. There may be nothing unusual or sinister about this, but this ancient old inn, proven stamping ground of this Elizabethan sea dog, does possess a ghost. In the past, it has hurled around coats and on occasions has thrown people down the stairs. It is believed by some that this is Drake himself, all at sea in the spirit world. Oh, viewer David, are you ready for this? Brace yourself. Judge Jeffreys was a notorious English judge. I'm not kidding, viewer David. There we go. Look, just by my finger, it's the judge. Hey. Viewer David will be absolutely delighted. Judge Jeffreys. Right, here we go. Judge Jeffreys was a notorious English judge with a reputation for administering harsh sentences to those who appeared before him. His circuit brought him regularly into Devon, where he was revered and feared. Although born in Kent, his ghost has elected to haunt Exeter, and it is reputed that from time to time he has been seen at the White Hart Inn in South Street. Whether or not this is true, you will have to judge for yourselves. See, that was very clever, that. Whether this is true or not, whether or not this is true, you will have to judge for yourselves. There we go, viewer David. We've had the we haven't finished the story yet, but I'm going to have another beer because I think Judge Jeffreys deserves a cheers me beers in the magnificent Rush beer glass. Again, thank you, Kirsten and Steve in the States. Slash me bar, everybody. Oh, lovely. The St. Olave's Court Hotel is located in Mary Arches Street, Exeter, an attractive and unobtrusive hotel sited in a former merchant's house, just a stone's throw from the busy city centre. It was built in 1827 as a private residence for Mr. Goldsworthy, who dabbled in many activities as well as being a successful businessman. He is attributed with being the first person to use an iron piped water system in this country. His watery activities served him and the citizens of Exeter well. In 1832, the cholera epidemic claimed many victims, and Goldworthy's benevolence showed in his willingness to allow the townsfolk to share in his own uncontaminated water supply. Top man. As time progressed, he became sick and employed a small army of workers to service his stables and work on his behalf. It is at the converted stable block fronting Mary Arches Street that their mild-mannered ghost appears, possibly an old stable lad. Several occupants of room 16 have felt a presence, and one guest claims that a pair of very strong arms folded around her in a gentle embrace. From time to time, a male has been seen, but nobody seems bothered by him, as he is a friendly force. Also very benign is the troubled soul who mooches around Tinley's Cafe in the Cathedral Close, particularly at night. He has been nicknamed Fred, an abbreviation of the word friendly, which of course he is. How could anyone who wears sandals when padding around so as not to disturb anyone be anything else? Oh, the bear burps. 26 minutes and 10 seconds. There we go. Marvellous. Read that again. How could anyone who wears sandals when padding around so as not to disturb anyone be anything else? It is possible that this is the spirit of a former gatekeeper at the adjacent Broad Gate, pulled down in 1823, who forgot to close the gate properly one night. An intruder got in, committed a murder on a priest, and got out again. The gatekeeper and mayor were deemed to be responsible and were executed for their negligence. Harry Unsworth once worked for a company called House and Chug, wholesale fruit merchants who moved into new premises in Verney Street, the whole area having been a bomb site. Harry recalls a story told by Mr. House and confirmed by Mr. Chug about a haunted building at the top of Verney Street. It became a factory but had been part of a batch of private dwellings which received a direct hit during the Blitz. About 10 children and 34 adults were killed, and workmen who were clearing the site during the rebuilding sometime around 1957 were shocked when they heard children's voices screaming and crying at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the same time that the place had been destroyed. The workmen downed tools and ran, and in fact did not return. And a new crew, the workmen downed tools and ran, and in fact did not return, and a new crew had to be found. Although the sounds continued, the new men were made of sterner stuff, and it didn't stop them. Several people reported to the papers that they also heard children's voices when they walked past the area during the afternoon. Little bit of housekeeping here on the when they heard children's voices, there should be an apostrophe there. Children's voices, I'm sure it should be an apostrophe there, but there isn't. But on the next sentence, it says children's voices, which does have apostrophe. So there we go, children's voices, but walked past the door, walked past the area rather. That should be P-A-S-T, not P-A-S-S-E-D. I know, I'm being smug. Have you met me? What are we up to? 29 minutes. We're also almost up to half time. Do you know what? I'm just going to put you on pause for a second when I reach around the other side of the MacBook and go and grab another book. So we'll be back in a couple of seconds. So see you shortly. There we go. Just reach round and grab some more books. We've got some more commentary here. Viewer David says, "I'm so excited, I've almost forgotten my own name." It's Viewer David. He also says, "My sugar and caffeine-free Coke is in a Margate-themed pint glass. It never has a short shot in it." Indeed, we've had exciting news today, Viewer David. Most of which I've actually completed as projects already. So anyway, what should we talk about half time? Are we at half time? We are at half time. Half time. Well, today was a 2-reg walk, the second 2-reg walk of the year, and so last week we did our regular stomping ground of Yatton to Kongsbury, although we did the return leg. We did Kongsbury to Yatton, which meant we could go and have some tea and cake at the Strawberry Line Cafe at Yatton Station. So yesterday rather, when I said to Reg, "Where are we walking tomorrow?" he said, "We're going to do Kongsbury," again, to Rington, Mother Hen. And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's going to be as muddy as bleep. And he said, "We'll wear welly boots." yeah, absolute genius. We wore welly boots today and it was great fun. So here is myself and Reg outside Mother Hen in Rington, which is a fabulous cafe, absolutely brilliant in there. That was my cafe stop today, which was a nice kind of chocolate flapjack, very nice. Reg had, what did he have? He had some lemon cake, good for him. There's Reg at Sign of the Times. There's Reg with his welly boots on. Like I say, it was a bit weird actually, because for the first kind of like 5-10 minutes, it didn't feel right wearing welly boots, and they felt massively uncomfortable and really bulky. But as the rubber, as the rubber started to kind of warm up a bit and your feet got used to it, they were fine. They were absolutely fine. And what it meant was we could just plow through puddles and mud and not have to worry about getting our feet wet. And there we go. Look, there's 2 pairs of muddy boots there, but absolutely brilliant. And there's Reg forging ahead by an oak tree. This is on the return leg, but these photos are all a bit out of sequence, so never mind. And that's us on the return leg at the Weir at Congsbury, which is right near where my friend Faye used to live as well. And there we are at the Bridge Too Far. And there's the Weir, which is absolutely brilliant. Love it there. Still haven't seen the Kingfisher, which is a little bit disappointing. I know we'll see it at some stage. But and that's the view. That's looking up the River Yeo towards Rington, which was our destination. And that's looking the other way towards Yatton, towards Congsbury and Yatton, which is the route we took back. We drove back that way anyway. And I do declare, there we go. That it's not a very good photograph, but that is apparently a chiff-chaff. The little devil was absolutely distant, and I was trying to get some pictures with the Nikon. But yeah, apparently that's a chiff-chaff. So there we go. And that was today's walk, 5.25 miles, which will take as a personal victory for someone who 3 years ago couldn't walk a mile without collapsing, and somebody else who has overcome Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I think, hurrah for the pair of us, quite frankly. I think we'll take that as a victory. One little victory, as Rush put it. But yeah, so there we go. That was today's 2 Reg walk, Mother Hen. Also, a big shout out to the staff of Mother Hen, who are absolutely marvellous, really friendly. And we had a lovely chat with them today, and yeah, really enjoyed ourselves. So what's on the recipe tomorrow? Well, tomorrow's going to be up early in the morning to finish off some work. Well, one of the projects that ironically had been announced today, viewer David. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be seeing friend Faye tomorrow, and hopefully friend Laura. So it's just a case of getting out there and cramming as much as you can into your allocated time. This is certainly something Reg and I have come to appreciate with our collective and respective brushes with mortality. So again, a big shout to viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States for the Reese's Pieces. I'm just having a look to see what other books do we have here. We've got Britain's Paranormal Forests. I think that might be the new one that we start, but not just yet. We've still got Haunted Dartmoor, which I think we have read before, but we might come back to that. It's too early for the Ghostly Almanac of Devon and Cornwall, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Ghosts of Bury Pomeroy Castle, Circles of Stone, Weird Tales of Pagan Sites and Ancient Rites. I get the funny feeling these are, my friend Lucinda said about this book, and she said that she was going to buy it, but she didn't because they were fictional stories. Of course, I then go and buy it, And it turns out they're fictional stories. But I might give it a private read and then gift it to a charity shop. We might do, if we run out of ghost stories tonight, we might do the Ghosts of Bury Pomeroy Castle, or we might do Haunted Dartmoor again. Yeah, we'll do Haunted Dartmoor again. So, but we've still got haunted happenings in Devon to finish off tonight. So, bad vibrations. Sonia from Whipton in Exeter wrote about a strange experience she had some years ago when she was pregnant with her youngest child. She called in to see her parents, who lived just behind her in a new detached bungalow built by her father, a well-known local builder. The bungalow was built on ground previously used as a site for some old cottages which had been pulled down to make way for the bungalow. The afternoon she visited her parents was a Wednesday, which she remembers because her mother had to be out at the hairdresser and her father was at work. Excuse me. Her mother asked her to stay and give the laundry to the man when he called. Sonia went into her mother's bedroom to have a rest, but had only been resting on the bed for a few seconds when a feeling of ominous dread came over her. For a few seconds, she tried to rationalize her feelings, but the fear she felt of being in danger was too great. And she left by the kitchen door. Once inside her own home, just yards from the bungalow, she felt quite safe. Sonia never told her parents of her experience because she didn't want to worry them or put them off living there. Several years later, several members of the family were talking about unusual experiences when her sister told her of an experience identical to Sonia's that she had in their parents' bungalow one afternoon while she was on a visit to Exeter from her home in Bristol. Just over there, Exeter down there, Bristol over there. She too suddenly felt terrified and left by the back door. Something she had dismissed before now took on a new and more sinister meaning. The number of the bungalow was 66, believed to be the devil's number. Almost, but not quite. Also in Whipton, a family who moved into a council house in Bennett Square found, to their dismay, that the house was already inhabited by an evil spirit. Although not quite so frightening as Amityville, the goings-on were sufficiently scary to warrant a request from the family to be rehoused. Lights went on and off without rhyme or reason, and items, sometimes quite substantial, were moved about. As subsequent tenants are not known to have been troubled by it, it can only be assumed that this particular poltergeist moved out as well. There is a house which was always popping up when I talk to people about hauntings. A house which stands near the roundabout by Middlemore Police Station. I have never been able to find out its exact location, so I went into the police station and asked the duty sergeant. I had never been able to find its exact location, so I went into the police station and asked the duty sergeant. He didn't seem at all surprised at my request and pointed across the street. He didn't seem at all surprised at my request and pointed across the other side of the road, where this big brick Victorian house stands. It was said that even troops billeted there during the war have been pestered by ghosts. It belongs to a Mr. Arden and his daughter Dale who farms at Southam Farm next door. And he told me that actually the house is not haunted, although he did admit many of the rooms there are very cold. He has a photograph of a house which is dated 1875, but he thinks it is older than that and might even date back to 1860 or earlier. However, unfortunately, the deeds were lost from the solicitor's office during the Blitz in Exeter. However, there was one interesting point. He told me no one had ever died in the house. It has been in his family for many years, and when the eldest member of the family, the grandfather or whoever, reached retiring age, he went to live in a villa in Pennsylvania, which they once owned, now belonging to the council. I also had a letter from Mrs. Hilda Hood. I also had a letter from Mrs. Hilda Wood of Sidmouth, who described herself as a pensioner. I'm not a young one either. Who wrote in this connection. She said that reading about the Victorian house near the roundabout, Middlemore, she felt she must tell about when, from the age of about 5 or 6 onward, she travelled to Exeter a goodly number of times with her parents in a governess cart or pony trap. Her father used to tell them all the story. Right, go. Her father used to tell them all the story or stories en route about this empty house. If the window glass was replaced, then it was soon broken again. She went on to say that many tales of Gallows Corner are around. Punctuation, come on. Oh, this is really frustrating. She went on to say that many tales of Gallows Corner are around too, comma, but unfortunately she cannot remember them. But to her knowledge, the house has not been lived in for over 70 years. Bum, bum, bum. Incroyable. Bum, bum, bum. We've still got that much beer to go. So cheers, me beers. Oh, lovely. Oh, right. We are going to crack open the single grain Scotch whisky, distilled, matured and bottled in Scotland. Single grain Scotch whisky. This 100% grain Scotch whisky is rich and round on the palate with soft, smoothing, pleasing tones. See, so this is the difference between a single malt and a single grain. But this stuff is pretty damn good. So, because I'm not a fan of blended Scotches per se, but the Arbracken is a blended Scotch. I got to say, it's bloody marvellous. So, oh, the beer burps again. Do apologise. Or the Scotch burps, indeed. The ghost is coming. Some ghosts like to take their time whilst out on their hauntings. One of the slowest ghosts of all time will be found at Dorwich, a large house near Sandford. We've got a Sandford near here, just over the hill, a bit like me. Not to be confused with the village of Sandford from the film Hot Fuzz, which was 20 years ago. So there's another Sandford as well. But anyway, the ghost is coming, ... Some ghosts like to take their time whilst out on their hauntings. One of the slowest ghosts of all time will be found at Dowrich, a large house near Sandford. Lewis Dowrich was a gambler, a man of rude manners, and one who was finally put firmly in his place by an old woman, probably the local resident witch. This old hag was upset by his antics and put a curse on him. On the 17th of September 1717, in a state of blind drunkenness, did he do a ghost story webcast? Let's find out. On the 17th of September 1717, In a state of blind drunkenness, his horse stumbled in a pothole at Dowrich Bridge. That is Lewes who was drunk and not the horse. Lewes fell and died from a broken neck. The curse continued beyond the grave because it ordered him to advance towards Dowrich House at the speed of 1 standard cock stride, approximately 6 inches, every moon 4 weeks. The path was particularly tricky, and as an extra obstacle, if Lewes fell, he would have to return to the starting point. It is about 520 yards. It is about 525 yards from the bridge to the house. Read that again. As it is about 525 yards from the bridge to the house, it is estimated that he should have arrived and therefore gone to rest somewhere about the year 1973. Poor old Lewes must have surely felt quite frustrated, for after such a long journey, he was able to discover that the bottom step of the gatehouse had been deliberately raised to 18 inches in order to keep him out. However, on a date in 1973, a hole was made in the wall before fitting a cattle grid, and a new gardener saw a man seated on a horse inside the gatehouse. He was wearing a long coat and shoulder cape and bore no expression save for his eyes, which were piercing. He watched him for several seconds and then horse and rider just disappeared. The gardener was completely unaware of the story, and this was the first sighting in over 100 years. As there have been no reports of sightings since, perhaps he has finally made it. Bum, bum, bum. We're coming up towards the end of this book. Just a quick look at the end here. Now, just seeing if there's any other ghost story books I need to buy. There is a book I do need to buy tonight, but we'll have a look at this. 49 minutes. Do you know what? Suddenly, gone a bit Michael Caine for a second. I get the funny feeling we might actually read this book out tonight. Might be the only book we need. Let's have a think about that. Anyway, cheers me beers. And viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States, yet again, in the magnificent United Federation of Planet Shot Glass from Star Trek The Motion Picture 1979, possibly my favourite Star Trek film. This is the single grain Scotch from Lidl, so slangs me bar. Oh, lovely. Oh, we've got some fan mail. Let's just read the fan mail. I've just right, let's crack on, shall we? Because I skirt starve and hungry, and I got some bubble and squeak to have tonight. So a Hator happening. A foursome of friends from Bovey Tracy decided to explore some of Topsham's many attractions, 14 pubs, for a night of revelry and fun. However, the driver remained dry and the other passengers merely enjoyed a few over the odds and were still in full possession of their faculties. On the way home, they had to cross Bovey Heath and there experienced an amazing sight. High in the night sky, a massive object appeared, shining brightly with a large number of lights. In sheer disbelief, the people got out of their car and watched the craft, estimated to be about the same size and shape of the Eiffel Tower, moved slowly across Bovey Heath towards Dartmoor. At one stage, it beamed down such a bright light onto Hayter Rocks that it was lit up as brightly as daylight. The group had the presence of mind to discuss what they should do about it, knowing full well that they might be regarded as fools. However, they decided to repeat the incident. At the local police station. Unfortunately, the officer on duty was somewhat skeptical about the sighting, possibly bearing in mind the activities of the participants that evening. However, they were all sensible people and not normally given to exaggeration or fantasy, and they maintained that what they saw was not of this world. Bum, bum, bum. Oh my goodness me, the last deux of tonight. What are we up to? 52 minutes. Perhaps we will have an extra ghost story, extra book tonight, but slange me by everybody. What are we up to? 2039. Yeah, I think we can. Oh, lovely. Slange. Oh, lovely. The story of the rose bush. Under the above heading, a remarkable article with application to Dawlish and written by Mrs. Bertha Kemp appeared in Light, a journal of psychical, occult and mystical research. It speaks of the remarkable transformation in the appearance of a white rose bush planted on the grave of Lieutenant Kenneth Kemp. On the grave of Lieutenant Kenneth Kemp, a brilliant artist and member of the Royal Society of British Artists, who died from influenza in Flanders on the 18th of October 1918, aged 23 years old, and in accordance with his wishes was buried at Dawlish among the beautiful Devon hills and valleys. The writer states, "The love between my dear son and his parents was extraordinary. After the passing, the white rose bush which we had planted in the garden flagged until it was one sickly little branch. This troubled me very much, and we decided the best thing to do would be to plant it on his resting place at Dawlish. This we did, and for 4 years it flourished and grew lovely clusters of white roses. Then came the miracle. I drove down to our country cottage at Dawlish in July 1927, and the same evening went up with flowers to the dear Garden of Sleep. As I turned the path and saw my boy's resting place, I thought something had happened to my eyes, for growing from the grave was a glowing mass of red cluster roses, with a perfect ring of white ones completely encircling them. I went to see the gardener on duty, who told me that he and his fellow gardeners had noticed the growth of these red flowers with puzzled interest, because they could not account for them in any way. Doubtless, there will be many horticulturists and materialists who will smile pithily and attribute the appearance of my red roses to natural causes. I know the message these flowers intended to convey. Where there is great love, there is only a very little parting." That's lovely. I like that. Thank you, Mrs. Bertha Kemp. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. And the final one, goodness me, the final one seems to have, well, the photograph. Oh, yeah, photographs. Yeah, let's dish through the photograph, shall we? So I can't remember if we did that one. I think that's the Shaftesbury Theatre there. So Shaftesbury Theatre. Then we did Devon-Aire. There we go, Devon-Aire. That was the story to do with media attention. Then we have the Haunted City, which is, I think that's the Marks and Spencers. Yeah, that is Marks and Spencers. So that's the Marks and Spencers there. And that's the, oops, Daisy, get your finger out of the way. And that's the Laura Ashley there. And then we have Water, Tea and Stronger Spirits. So this is the, what pub was this? Undercroft Passages. I'm trying to see what the pub is. Can't read what the name of the pub is. Oh, Ships Inn. Ships Inn. So there's the Underwater Passages, which are dry now, and there's the Ships Inn. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, sorry, no, that's the Ships Inn. I don't know what that other one is. Let me have a quick look. I'm just having a read. I can't see what that other one, what that relates to. No. Good end to the show. Then we have Tinley's, which is the cafe. There we go. Wouldn't mind going there actually. And then we have the weird red brick house. Is it red brick house? No, big brick Victorian house. But I think we can assume it's red brick. That tends to be the colour of bricks. And we're on to the last one, Tuned In. So we are going to get story tonight. So let's have a bit more beer, shall we? Cheers, me beers. We are going to finish tonight with some more of the caramel biscuit. What the hell? And we're up to 58 minutes. Yep, we're going to finish on this book. So last one for tonight, Tuned In. Like me, Harry Unsworth remarks that he believes that some of us are able to receive some sort of signals from the past, and one just has to be on the right wavelength at the right time. He goes on. I must be a walking radio set tuned in at about 198 kilohertz. When I left the Royal Navy as a radar technician in 1960, TV was just getting into its stride, and so I joined a company of TV and radio engineers based at Slough, but covering the southwest. And one of my first jobs was to install a new set and erect an aerial at a very large Newquay hotel. Whilst tuning the set into the only TV station available at the time, Wenvo over in North Wales, I came across a test card that was not known to me. It was of a man's head, such as the one of the ex-King Edward, who abdicated, as depicted on the stamps at the time. Although I managed to get a perfect picture for some 10 minutes or more, it then disappeared. And no matter how I tried, I could just not. Although I managed to get a perfect picture for some 10 minutes or more, it then disappeared. And no matter how I tried, I just could not get it back. When I returned to our local depot in Exeter, I explained the strange picture to my boss. He listened as though with complete disbelief, and then told me that the picture I had seen had been the test card for a trial period of some 24 months in Ontario, Canada, but it had been abandoned about 2 years previously to my seeing it. Mystery though it still is, I certainly have my own theory on the case, and being trained for nearly 12 years on radio and radar during my naval career, I have been taught that the radio waves can be transmitted into the sky, and that they can also bounce off the Heathside layer, which is an iron-based dust layer in the inner atmosphere. return to Earth, bounce up again, and so ad infinitum until their energy is expended and they fade away. Incidentally, Oliver Heaviside, after whom the layer was named as he discovered it. Read that again. Incidentally, Oliver Heaviside, Oliver Heaviside, after whom the layer was named as he discovered it, was a Torquay man, but he lived in Newton Abbot on the Totnes Road. Could the signals have been bouncing for 2 years in space and I was the fortunate one to be at the right place at the right time to receive them? I believe so. If that then is the case, why cannot the sounds made by man and indeed the pictures seen by his eyes also be suspended in space? Certainly we speak on certain wavelengths, and each time we utter a word, it travels somewhere. Those near us hear it easily, but where does it go then? Spooky voices and noises could just be transmissions from the past, and such things as foul deed or heroic episodes will have carried more impetus or more power. During scenes of emotion, one's feelings are intense to say the least, and therefore stronger signals transmitted out to the world. Let's read it again. During scenes of emotions, one's feelings are intense to say the least, and therefore stronger signals transmitted out to the world. Are we sometimes fortunate enough to... the beer burps again, do apologise. Are we sometimes fortunate enough to again be on the right place? Are we sometimes fortunate enough to again be at the right place at the right time? Should be a question mark there. Summing up, I find that people react in one of two ways to all forms of psychic phenomena. I don't know why I did that. It's not written down here. Summing up, I find that people react in one of two ways to all forms of psychic phenomena. Some listen to a spooky tale with relish and believe there is a continuation of life after death. Others know it. Sorry. Oh God, let's have another beer. Goodness me. Been a long day, folks. Slange. Right, let's try it again. Summing up, I find that people react in one of two ways to all forms of psychic phenomena. Some listen to a spooky tale with relish and believe there is a continuation of life after death. Others know it is a load of rubbish. To a great extent, I think many events which defy logical explanation happen inside, not outside, ourselves, experienced as emotion through our five senses, that the mind can travel in time, past, present, and future are one and the same. Past, present, and future are one of the same thing. Come on, punctuation. To a great extent, this is a great ending to the Tonight Show. To a great extent, I think many events which defy logical explanation happen inside, not outside, ourselves, experienced as emotion through our five senses, that the mind can travel in time. Past, present, and future are one and the same thing, that we already know all there is to know, and our brain filters out part of the information as much as it is good for us to know and use in everyday living. With different people, we will get this right, folks. To a great extent, I think many events which defy logical explanation happen inside, not outside, ourselves, experienced as emotion through our five senses, that the mind can travel in time. Past, present, and future are one and the same thing, that we already know all there is to know, and our brain filters out part of the information as much as it is good for us to know and use in everyday living. With different people, this varies. With some, they see ghosts. Some can foresee the future. All are involved in the picking up of emotions, our own or someone else's, anywhere in time or space. That's the end of that book. Goodness me. And the last picture from this one, I don't remember reading this one. I'm sure I have. But there he is, the actor Robert Powell, he of The Detectives, Jesus of Nazareth, and also read Frederick Forsyth's The Shepherd, which is one of my favourite Christmas ghost stories. Let's read that at some stage. Right, that's it, folks. End of tonight. Cheers, me beers. Oh, delicious. Oh, lovely. God bless you, Aldi, and your chocolate stout. Lovely. And the last of the, well, not the last, but we've still got a little bit of the caramel biscuit. Yeah, caramel biscuit. Got that right. Slash me var. Oh, delicious. That's it for tonight. Fingers crossed, we'll be back on Friday with Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra on a Friday. We might revisit an old favourite. We might try and start a new book. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to have a think about that. Bear in mind, thinking is a hard thing for me to do with holes in my head. Anyway, fingers crossed. We'll be back on Friday for Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra. So, in the meantime, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why? Why not? What else are you going to do on a Wednesday night in the middle, literally the middle of January, than watch a confused man from Dudley with holes in his head, drink ghost stories, and read alcohol? Come on, folks, you can do better. I can't, but you can do better. So until the next time, as ever, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. Please don't have nightmares. Good night.